Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Peace and blessings, mob family. Hey, you already know we back again for another brainstorming session. I am the chief growth strategist, Delano, and also your host. So you already know if you've been involved in our community, you already know we're here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to master our business. Share some gems. Of course, we have another special guest for you guys as always. It's all about community growth and economic growth, generational wealth, and figuring out how we can just get out of this matrix, get unplugged, man, and unplug somebody else. So if you are live with us, make sure you guys blow the chat up. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share to a fellow entrepreneur. Who knows? You never know. They may be able to receive a gem today that may help them, take it to the next level. So, hey, if we could touch one person every brainstorming session, that's our goal, at the end of the day. And it's our duty as a community to help each other thrive at the end of the day. So, continue on, supporting us. Speaking of support, I definitely have to, shout out all of our mentors, all of our advisors, and of course, all of our mob members. You guys have been doing some amazing things. And it's always, a pleasure to see you guys excel at the end of the day, see you guys continue on pushing the limits. Some of you guys have just been, blowing it out of the water. Shout out to all of our new members, just for taking that step, taking a step of faith and putting your babies in our hands too, trusting us with your vision. That means a lot to us at the end of the day, because I know how it can be, your business is your baby at the end of the day. And, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you guys are bankable, and making sure that you guys are actually growing some assets, making sure you guys have something to pass down to your loved ones. And that's what it's all about. Also, shout out all of our Discord family, everybody in our Discord. We've been sharing a lot of information in our Discord, a lot of gems as well. So if you are not in the Discord, make sure you guys scan the barcode on the screen. Or after the live, you can always click the link in our bio. It don't matter what platform you're on. We should have a link that'll bring you right into our Discord. And we're always welcome. We're always welcome you guys, especially if if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a community leader, if you're an expert in any field. We would love to have you, come in and drop some gems and, connect with some of our family at the end of the day. Because it's all about a village at the end of the day. So speaking of village, of course, we have another special guest for you guys, Miss Jamille Edwards. Hey, let's hop right into it. What's going on, Queen? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Matter of fact, I got you. I can unmute you.
You got me. You got me. I'm not muted anymore. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
And I appreciate you just taking out the time. I know our schedules can get super hectic. And it's all about dream chasing at the end of the day. So I don't take that lightly when people, take out the time and brainstorm with us and, drop some gems for our community. So for the people that's under a rock who don't know, let the people know who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay, so I am actually a licensed counselor in the state of Illinois, Texas, and Florida. I own my own private practice. I provide counseling supervision. I am an adjunct professor, so I teach undergraduate students how to be mental health professionals. I have also branched out into providing workshops on things like substance use, sexual trauma, domestic violence, and I'm looking forward to creating another entity where I'm able to provide coaching across the United States. So I'm excited about that coming really, really soon and building some programs for our youth in communities that are, looking for support for teachers, parents, and children. Excited about that because I know some people are deciding to homeschool their children and interested in, helping not only just the young people, but the college students as well, academically and mentally, socially, emotionally, as we are all on this platform to engage in. So, a lot of my work consists of integrating different things that promote wellness. I'm a spiritualist. I love, natural person looking to help individuals. So I take what I've learned as a PhD individual and implement that as much as I possibly can. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That we definitely need you, Queen. It's a lot of, it's a lot of obstacles in our communities, and we definitely need more individuals like yourself that's hunkering down. Maybe we can team up in the future. Especially with our
Oh, we're absolutely like we're locked in right now.
most definitely.
We're locked in. We're
Most
locked in,
definitely.
of
And
course. Yeah.
I know we have our M.O.B Junior program, and we're working on our STEAM initiative, getting that off the ground. So, hey, we need
Hmm.
all hands on deck. That's what I always like to, remind people
Hmm.
at the end of the day. So, real quick, let's hop right into it. I love to talk about the how. I love to, jump right into some advice. For upcoming mogul, somebody that's looking to build their entity, what what structure do you feel like they need to start off with, implementing their business?
First and foremost, do your research. Most individuals have an idea on what they want to do, what they're passionate about. They don't want to go back into learning about the business information. What does it take to create a business? What type of business should you create? Um, what that consists of? Who do you need as board members? What the funding consists of? It's like you have this brilliant idea, and all you want to do is focus on it, and you could start off doing it. If you want to start off selling whatever your product is, eventually you're going to find yourself in a situation where you need to go back and incorporate yourself. How are you taking money from people? One day you're taking cash, and the next minute you need something that's going to help you, um, you know, take credit card information, send things shipping wise. And some people get hung up in that. They're so excited about the opportunity that they just want to do the work and not do the research. So that can save a lot of people, um, you know, making mistakes. It can help set direction, so to speak, to say, oh, okay, these are these different business entities that I can do and engage in. How much is it going to cost me to start this business? How much is it going to cost me to create a business plan, to have a website, to utilize things that allow, merchant payment and those types of things? Because it really can help create perspective, right? We want to be able to start something, can continue it, and so that's what I find even when I'm working with people who are starting businesses is they don't want to do that reading. They don't want to do that research. They just want to make the product and sell the product, or they just want to provide the service and not do the work on. And we're not looking for 100%, right? We're not looking for that. Um, we're looking for perspective. We're looking for things that can help you structure your business. We're looking for opportunities that you may not have thought about beforehand. Whereas, like, if you're trying to sell a product, then there's an opportunity. Or do you want to go the website route? Do you want to go the local route? So it helps to sit there and think about, like, how can you do some of that research on the back end before just launching your business? And so that's what's really interesting about helping people.
Ooh, you hit it right on the head. When I tell you, I had to go back so many times and go back to the drawing board, because, like you said, most of us have a passion, and we just hop right into it. We just want to
Hmm.
do, and we don't really
Hmm.
have the time. So now, that's one of the first things that we do with our members: make sure that they have a business plan. If not,
Hmm.
we create it for them. Or if they already have a business plan, we revise it, we revamp it.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
living document. We always talk about
Hmm.
how often should you, update your business plan and kind of go back into the market research because life changed. The world changed. I mean, we could,
Hmm.
just take the pandemic for example. We're in a whole new millennium. These last 6 years has been so different. And I've seen a lot of people who's been in business for decades have to adapt, and switch some things up, including ourselves. We had to go back to the drawing
Hmm.
as well, and figure some things out and rearrange some things. So you definitely hit that on the head. What was it? Was it a specific moment you realized your business needed a better structure? If so, what was the first thing you fixed?
I would say that for me, I try to minimize as much risk as possible before starting my business. It was really interesting. I had my mentors, I had people saying, like, why don't you just go into business for yourself? And I did not want to. I just honestly did not want to. I think as a person who's mother, a head of household, I needed or wanted that stability before going into the business. And so I did all the things that I thought could be possibly done before launching my business. I don't want to say that I would have done any that I would if I could go back, I would have done anything differently because there were so many things that happened during the process of me starting my business that I did not have any control over. Like there was an insurance hack that caused the payments for me to be delayed from taking insurance. And there was just nothing I could have done to predict that from happening. What I did learn from it is I needed to go back and think about how I spent my money, my relationship with money, and consider my overhead expenses. Like I didn't think about like having a certain amount of money before going into my business. I did do some of the things that my mentors taught me was like, okay, don't quit your day job. Have another source of income while you're building your business. That's not always easy to do because I could see my business picking up and I'm like, well, I want to leave this job to go work on mine. No, I still needed that 9 to 5 to invest in my business. So keeping my mind together and my head together was really, really important. If I could have had more resources on that aspect, it would have been helpful. But I wouldn't have known that at the time. We can get wrapped up in crossing all our T's and dotting all our I's. But it's really a matter of being able to make those adjustments in the moment. And that was probably the most difficult thing because I'm very critical. I see it people when we go into being business owner, we're very critical of ourselves. And so um, one thing that I do will say to the point of the second part of the question is that I wish I would have learned early on. There's a difference between having a business mindset and having an entrepreneur mindset. And that's not something I learned until I was about a year into my business where I'm doing things as a business owner and I needed to learn how to do things from an entrepreneur mindset. And so I'm still actively learning those stages for myself. And that's what switched my model and how I perceive my business.
I love it. I love it. I always tell my members, you have to be, and anybody I talk to, I was just talking to my cousin the other day as well because he started his company, and I told him you have to be a student to the game. At the end of the day, I think we're always going to be, if you're smart, you always should be a student to the game. At the end of the day, I think you never get to a point where you just stop learning, unless you did. I tell people all the time, the day you stop learning is the day you did, or the
Mm-hmm.
day you're
Hmm.
going to sink. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's super important, and having accountability partners, having mentors, having advisors to kind of help you walk through your journey, to give you certain advice is super important. So that's why I always shout out all of our mentors, all of our advisors. My mentor, that really kind of took time out, to sit me down and walk me through the process. Even though I thought I had it figured out at the time, I was making money. I was making good money, but I didn't have anything tangible at that time. So that was something that he really had to really show me the profits versus value. So I
Hmm.
think that's super important for us to really pinpoint. So real quick, if you live with us, if you just tuning in, we are talking with Jamille Edwards, the Queen. And real quick, man, if you're also somebody that just needs some extra resources, that needs some mentors, some advisors, that want to see and make sure that you have all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted. Make sure you guys scan that barcode right at the bottom of the screen. That'll take you to our business funding readiness audit. It's 12 questions, 60 seconds to fill out. And it might be, the best 60 seconds of your life. It might be a great decision. I think so because, it's always good to see where those gaps are. Sometimes, these things are invisible. Sometimes we just know, hey, let's just get this LLC, let's just get my EIN, let's get started, let's get these bills paid, right? But sometimes you need to go back and, figure out, and readjust things. And we want to make sure that you guys avoid that, especially if you just starting off. If you can avoid it, why not? So that's what we're here for. Like I said, it takes a village. I always talk about the big three. Where the big three pain points most entrepreneurs have, which is the lack of capital, the lack of information, and the lack of a village, the lack of a team. So those are the three pain points that we like to kind of fill and come in and figure out how can we fill those gaps at the end of the day. And you spoke on something earlier. The relationship with finance. A lot of us have a crazy relationship when it comes to finance. I know I did. I used to be an impulsive spender, and I didn't know anything about budgeting. And I bootstrapped for a long time. I didn't know anything about getting capital, and putting myself in position to become bankable. So that's super, important. I always tell, business owners all the time, don't wait until you need the money to, just to try to, get capital or get in position to get capital. Make sure you got everything in order, just in case. You might be doing good now, but later on down the line, like things like you said, sometimes you just can't predict certain things, like the pandemic. We couldn't predict that, but and a lot of businesses had to hang it up. But at the same time, a lot of people started their business as well and was able to get a nice amount of capital. I mean, me personally, I have a lot of business owners get some capital to stay in the game and to get started. So and that's really when I realized I had some things and to clean up in our backyard as well. So we study learning. And I think we learn off each other. That's why I love these brainstorming sessions. I get a chance to learn from so many different people and different backgrounds and different industries, and that's what it's all about. Those confirmations. So hey, don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to ask for help. At the same time, pride will
Mm.
kill you at the end of the day. So real quick, we focus on low risk positioning to get businesses bankable. From your seat, what's one high risk mistake you see most entrepreneurs making that really keep them from scaling?
Just like you said, they avoid making change. Like it's a natural behavioral response for people to say, I don't know what to do or I can't do anything, and they get stuck. So, when those types of things happens, you can learn from the experiences you've had. You can learn from what the situation is. In some instances, it could be as simple as realizing that you have strengths in certain aspects of what you're doing and weaknesses in others, and being willing to delegate that. When it's something as delicate as finances and income, that looks a little bit different because people still have financial responsibilities. And so when they have things that, taxes, not understanding what that looks like, it's not you want to avoid that situation. You want to figure out how to navigate it. And that can be, networking, asking the questions, and doing all of the things instead of not doing anything, because not doing anything is still a response. It is still something that's going to create momentum in a direction. It may not be the direction you want to go in. So it's okay. This is new. This is different. Not being in this tax bracket, or like you said, situations where COVID happens. And, it's interesting when we think about what happened during COVID or what happens during natural disasters, where obviously, if we understand the history of money, there's people who are going to lose businesses and there's people who are going to start and profit from businesses. So if you're avoiding making changes based on what's happening socially, economically, financially, and politically, you are avoiding that situation. It's going to put your business a little bit behind, which could cause it to end up, closing or going bankrupt or whatnot and what have you. Whereas that still leaves an opportunity for you to change. So you can approach it in two ways. Either you can decide that you want to change, or you can be forced to change whether you want to. It's really a matter of perspective. So as far as capital is concerned, it's things that people, again, they don't do their research, because if the economy is shifting in one direction, there's an opportunity for you to capitalize on it. You're just not aware of it. And so, yes, we get stuck in this is how it's been done, this is how it's been working, and that's beautiful and that's fine. If you have, the support, you still have if you're comfortable making the money that you're making, then by all means you can continue to do that. But if you're wanting to progress or make some progression of some sort, then there's an opportunity for you to shift and capitalize on certain things. But again, that's going to be a matter of your perspective.
Most definitely. You hit it right on the head. We have to adapt to what's going on around us. And like I said, these are things that I had to do myself. I used to be super scared of, things like credit, because in our community, all is bad credit, right? From, especially myself, coming from Detroit, most of us, in the inner city, we have bad credit. We have bad relationships when it comes to finance. And that's pretty much one of the main reasons why we created Business Credit Ain't Scary, because we wanted to, change that stigma up, and we wanted to make sure that, people had the information. Because like I said, if you don't know how to use these chess pieces, you're not going to win the game at the end of the day. So, hey, if you, are tapping in with us live, make sure you guys blow up that chat. Post some money bags in the chat. Also, make sure, after the live, make sure you guys check out our Business Credit Ain't Scary ebook. We have a lot of important information. And like I said, we just have a lot of information on how to move these chess pieces around, because it's all a game at the end of the day. So you want to make sure that you're equipped and you have all the knowledge to move around. You want to make sure that you guys know the difference between good and bad debt, which is something, that I really had to learn. And I promise you, once you have these chess pieces, every single way to move, it's really no way for you to lose at the end of the day. We have to play this game. We have to play like the big leagues, and this is how they plan. They're not spending their own money. They're not spending their own money, you guys. So we have to get out of the hustle culture, and that's what we're doing. We're doing a lot better these days. It's a lot, really getting over. We're really killing a lot of generational curses, and I'm loving it. It's the best time to be an entrepreneur. I see it all the time. With all the tools, all the information. This is the time of truth as well. So, the information is out there, you guys. It's no longer hidden from us. So we really have no more excuses at the end of the day. So yeah, make sure you guys not only, it's not about just getting our ebook, put some action behind it. That's really what we want you to do. Make sure that you guys are, utilizing these tips, utilizing some of these tricks, and, winning the game at the end of the day. So, real quick, what's the biggest lie people in your industry is telling entrepreneurs right now, or just telling period?
Biggest lie that they're telling, the biggest lie they're telling.
Yeah, yeah.
Which one? Um, the big That's a really great question. That this is about this is the, that this that the situations that people of color, people in other communities are in, has been created outside of the community. And I think that's one of the biggest lies that they're being told. One of the reasons why I'm going to say that is because it allows people to project their problems onto someone else and not to try to figure out how they can just work on themselves. So then it creates this false pretense that we need someone else to save us, or that someone else needs to fix our problems. And I think that that's not the healthiest information, because it could put somebody in a position to spend 5, 10, 15 years of like, well, we need reparations. No, we don't need reparations. There's opportunities that exist for us. I think another thing that's also being unpacked is we have been, again, programmed to look for things and created this false sense that other things are important to us when they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like if education is something that's important to you, let it be important to you. Don't let it be important to you because someone else told you that you needed an education. Don't let buying a house be important to you because someone else told you that you need to buy a house. Buy a house because you want to buy a house. And that gives you an opportunity to choose why you want to buy a house, when you want to buy a house, where you want to buy a house, and what you want to do with the house. So I feel like we're unraveling some of those things. We have more people saying, hey, let's stop going to these award shows and letting us be treated this way because they're not designed for us. Let's stop believing this information that's not necessarily healthy for people. Like right now, there's, in programs and settings, that's like, oh, you need accommodations in order to survive. You need someone to treat you a certain way in order to get this information and these resources. That's not necessarily true. So when people start to realize, okay, they're doing this for themselves, they're doing this because they want to, then we remove all the social political influences that cause people to go in directions because someone's saying they should versus this is what makes sense to them. So I feel like that's one of the biggest lies that we're being told or people have been told in a multiple ways.
Ooh, message. I love it. I love it. I love it for sure. I said, this is something I talk about all the time. We have to we have to save ourselves. No one is going to save you.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
have to save
Hmm.
ourselves. It's all up to you. We have no more excuses. The information is out there. The resources is out there. The platforms is out there.
Hmm.
Programs like ours is out there. We're not the first ones or the last. We just have to want it at the end of the day, and you have to realize that you have to save yourself. You can't worry about what's going on, and not saying you can't worry about. Definitely stay up to date with what's going on with the powers to be. Because we have to operate like this the spook who sat by the door.
Hmm.
And I ain't gonna speak on that too much. I usually like to save that kind.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
At the end of the day, we have to move forward at the end of the day and continue on getting out. I was just listening to Gary Vee comment on one of his posts and about not buying, getting into these 40-year-old mortgages and stuff like that. The game has changed, and he was saying,
Mm,
if you're out there making good money, don't just rush into buying a house. Continue on renting and put that down payment, that $20,000 down payment, that $40,000 down payment that you was gonna put in the house, put it into your business. Help your business continue on scaling. Put it into some
mm,
passive income. Continue on scaling up to where you're
mm,
comfortable enough to then you're in the process where you don't need a down payment. You could just buy your land and buy your house out forth, and you're not struggling or under mad pressure. And I agree. I think it's a lot of truth in that. And times is changing. We're waking up now. So I love that. I love that. So you're clearly an authority in your industry. But I found that even the best experts often have parts in their own business that still rely too much on them. So I'm curious, where is the most friction showing up for you right now?
Well, the field that I chose to go in does require my physical presence the majority of the time. Being a therapist means that I'm sitting in front of somebody and I'm doing all of the things. And it's I like the creativity and the fact that I am an educator. So I'm constantly thinking of ways on how to incorporate myself. So with the field that I'm in, we don't learn about having our own business. We don't learn about being business owners, and those types of things. It takes me to be able to tap into my personality, what I'm good at, and what I'm passionate about. So I can branch off into teaching information. I can branch off into writing. Having to write a dissertation lets me know, okay, well, I have the ability to write and do some research and put things in this perspective so that, people can take that, read it, and I don't have to charge that much. I'm not there, and those types of things. I also see like the benefits of just being at another level. I go from providing services to somebody, say substance related or psychiatry related, to just elevating myself to working with other professionals because of my own clinical skills. And I feel like, well, if I'm keeping their heads together, they're serving a multitude of people as well. And I support that with, especially in the work that I do. I'm all about passive income. I'm all about budgeting. I'm looking at the behavioral patterns, the intergenerational cycles, the the generational traumas that people experience, and then just working on, like, hey, um, tapping into that, because I feel like right now that's how the people that I serve are able to better themselves and the other people in their lives. Do I plan on expanding more? Absolutely. It is just a process. I learn to pace myself and say, okay, well, I got a license here, I got a license here. So that means I can serve a multitude of people. But can I switch into other types of services, and what does that look like? And that's what I've been doing. Being a teacher allows me to reach people in a different capacity because I'm teaching other people how to help others. So a little bit different as far as what I do occupation wise that requires me to physically be present. But now I'm, expanding into, let me focus on doing this. Let me sing about doing this, because I'm constantly, like yourself, I'm constantly regurgitating like what's happening in the world. You know what I'm saying? If I'm only helping this population of people, and my mindset is that, it might be helping 20 or 30 people, how do I reach 100 people? How do I reach 1,000 people? And also, too, how do I keep grounding myself? Because I feel like I'm a living example of representation. So when I'm telling people, hey, I'm doing stuff this weekend, I'm not answering emails to Monday, they appreciate that because they're learning to take care of themselves. I feel like that's one of the things that we need to incorporate. And what we're doing is self compassion and self love. I'm not just go, 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 go. I'm very strategic. My people know me. I have this meeting, this meeting, this meeting, and then I go take care of myself. I have this meditation process. I'm going to work out. You can call me if you want to. Whatever your crisis is, it's going to have to wait till I finish my 15-minute walk. And then I'm going to come, I'm going to get back to you. And while I'm getting back to you, I'm thinking about, how can I do this and multiply this in 20 ways to help somebody else do this in a larger capacity. And that's just where I am.
Major gems. I think mindset is everything. At the end of the day, and that's why we getting away from this hustle culture. I grew up in it.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure you
Hmm.
do as well. Because I've seen a lot of people burn out, and I'm
Hmm.
one of those people. I've been excuse me. I've been one of those people that burnt out myself, and we have to put ourselves in a position to, like you said, pace yourself. Create boundaries, and I spoke on it earlier. Learn how to delegate. I was talking to an entrepreneur yesterday. We did a brainstorming session with Nate Parker yesterday, and she spoke on how it's just so hard to delegate because it's your baby at the end of the day. Um, but and I used to be like that as well. I used to be the micromanaged king. I've been through a bunch of interns, different employees, and I just, I always felt like, and I grew up, in the culture of, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. And we're no longer in that culture. We got so many different tools. I'm an AI expert now, so I've been helping people automate their workflows, automate, and really eliminate a lot of these tasks because we don't want to create a cage for ourselves. We want a successful business, but that don't mean you have to create a cage for yourself to where you can't, like you said, take care of yourself and just enjoy your life, enjoy your family. We want our business to be working for us at the end of the day. And, like I said, this is the best time to be an entrepreneur because you have all of the tools available to do that, to delegate these tasks, whether it's a robot or delegating them to an actual person, whether you got a virtual assistant or whatever the case may be, whatever works for you. We have to do that at the end of the day. So it's super important. So I always say, we don't just watch videos here. This is not your normal live stream. I don't want people to just tap in, watch us, and keep it moving. I want people to actually take action. So what's one mogul move our audience needs to complete in the next 24 hours to see results?
So I'm gonna go back to what you said because we often don't realize that we're our own brand, we're our own representation of what we're starting to do and create. And there's so much information out there. I would say be intentional about the information because everything is not going to be for you. If you find the pieces of information and it resonates at that point in time, take what you can from it and then put that in your toolkit. And a month from now, or I mean, like you said, 24 hours from now, you could listen to this podcast or this interview and you could get something completely different out of it. So always thinking about like, if we're going to have this information, we're going to get what we want to get out of it where we're at. But then we're different every day. You wake up tomorrow, you can listen to this again, and there's going to be other things that resonate with you. And so when you have that, then you can be consistent with that. You can be intentional with that. You don't have to have 100 different places that you go for information because then you're going to oversaturate yourself with ideas on what you should be doing instead of thinking about that and flushing that out where this is what I want to do and this is how I want to go. Go ahead and by all means be successful with that. So I would say, like you said, there's so much information, but be mindful about it, be intentional about it. What did you get out of it? I have even my books in my house, they're separated based off genre. Like, this is my self help, this is my mental health, this is my business, this is my history. And then when I want to go to what I'm willing to learn about, I'm going to that specifically because that's how that information has been, that's how I retain that information and that's how I develop myself. And so, I'm thinking about where you are with that. If there's things that you want to do to create momentum, then open your mind to that. What is it about this information that I don't know that I could gain from? What is it about me that I want to learn more of? And then decide what materials are going to help you reach that point. Some instances you could read something or listen to something and be like, I ain't get nothing out of it. Well, you got that it's not for you. So there you go. Wasn't time wasted. It was that you learned from that experience. But this information hit me this way, this way, this way. Sometimes I'll get a podcast and I will literally sit myself down and 20 minutes I'm listening to it and I'm writing notes. And then 20 minutes I'm listening to it and I'm writing notes. And then I got that in my saved archive. I might go back to it in 24 hours and think, well, these are the notes I had, but there's some other stuff that I might have missed. So let me rewatch that again and see where I'm at with it. And that's just going to be part of that process.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, you guys have your assignment, Mob family. Make sure you guys complete it. If you're in our Discord, I would love to see results. Definitely post them in our Discord community. And hey, Jamil is also in our Discord community. So if you have any questions for it, like she said, you might wake up tomorrow and didn't have no questions today, but have some questions tomorrow. So you can
Mhm.
always contact her right in our Discord directly. And definitely make sure I suggest you definitely connect with her because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. So, hey, you guys got your assignment. You already know your assignment from me. Make sure you guys take that audit, scan the barcode as soon as possible. Hey, and take 60 seconds out your life to see where those gaps are in your business, if you have any. And if you don't, that's even better. It's always good confirmation to see your hard work paying off. And if you do have some, it's a win-win. If you do have some, now we get to feel them. Now we know what to look for to strengthen your foundation at the end of the day, and that's what it's all about. So I always say, at the end of the day, you can get this information, but information without execution is just a hobby. So, hey, make sure you guys put it in motion. Real quick, Queen, can you let the people know where they can find you and reach you other than the Discord? And real quick, just give the mob community a quick shout out.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you all taking the time to meet with me. I love what you all are doing. It's very supportive, it's very important. I love that you have done so much work and it shows on building a foundation, building a brand, and also, I mean, like I know for me, I'm looking at things from a different perspective. Like you got your listeners and they may not realize the intricacies of what it takes to take the time to do this with the sacrifices that your family has made and your friends have made, to just be present and come up with the ideas that you all come up with, to choose the people you all reach out to ask the questions that you ask. All of them are just so appreciated, because I know that it takes, time, energy, effort, and all of those things to be like, okay, why am I going to reach out to this person? What can they bring to the table? What questions can we ask? And those types of things. So I appreciate all of the things that it takes for you to, be present, be focused, and give back the way you're all are giving back. As far as reaching me right now, I would say the best way would contact me through my website, which is goldencenturywellness.com, or reaching out to me through goldencenturywellness@gmail.com. And I will respond as I can. Please let me just let people know that I'm semi structured as far as reaching out to people, and intentional about, like, let me reach out to this person because they're asking me these questions, and I want to be present and think about how to reach out to them and give them my undivided and full attention. So I appreciate being here, and I know that I'm hoping I'll be back again. I don't think this is the end. I think this is the beginning.
Most definitely, we definitely gonna keep building. And that's what it's all about. We expand in the community. We have so many great people within the village, and it's a family thing. We have to move, and we on the same rock at the end of the day. So hey, if you're already a member, make sure you be on the lookout for your mobile notes, and your outlines. And if you're not, definitely check us out. You can always join the Discord and ask as many questions as possible, and get some of the gems that we actually drop in our Discord community. And just see how our program can best fit you at the end of the day. We want to make sure that we can actually benefit and add value to what you already have. So that's what it's all about. Again, make sure you guys take 60 seconds out your day, scan that barcode, or just go in the bio, or in the link in the bio, and take our 12 question audit. And let's get you guys bankable if you're not already. Let's fill in those gaps. And like I always say, stop being a spectator and start being a mogul at the end of the day. And that's what it's all about. Until next time, my family, you guys continue on being blessed, and I'll talk to you guys shortly.